Congressman Pat Harrigan joins us now. The congressman is a Republican from North Carolina. You can pick up, Congressman, from where I'm sure you've heard maybe part of our conversation, but also Congressman Scalise, what he's saying about this issue.
Well, Carl, thanks for having me on. Look, Steve Scalise is a patriot. He went through an absolutely terrible event. And unfortunately, we keep going through these terrible events in our country. And it's because the political rhetoric that we've got is just way too high. I think you look at what happened to Charlie Kirk, the assassination last week. Everybody's still reeling from that. Everybody is still frustrated, confused, angry. And the reality is that, look, this happens when you demonize one side. I mean, we've been called Nazis. We've been called fascists. Just today, I was actually talking with Steve earlier today, and he said, Pat, we've looked back over 3,000 times since President Trump has taken office. On MSNBC, has President Trump been called a fascist? 3,000 times, a threat to our democracy. These words have meaning, and these words precipitate actions, and sometimes these actions are absolutely heinous, like we saw with Charlie Kirk last week, but we've got to knock it off.
I have a couple of thoughts because we've had, a lot of, interesting is not the right word, but a lot of conversations about this over the last few days with smart people, some in politics, some outside of politics. And one of the things that's come up is whether we in the media, like mainstream media, should be elevating some of the voices that are saying the types of things you and others have referred to, or, sticking to people in positions of power more that in many cases, not all, but many cases are not as irresponsible and haven't been. And whether talking about it on just one side is helpful now, or we should be pointing out, what's happened on the other side of people like Gretchen Whitmer or Josh Shapiro, who spoke today. Let me play a clip from this, the governor of Pennsylvania, and then we'll come back and hit that point.
I believe we have a responsibility to be clear and unequivocal in calling out all forms of political violence and making clear it is all wrong. That shouldn't be hard to do. Unfortunately, some, from the dark corners of the internet all the way to the Oval Office, want to cherry pick which instances of political violence they want to condemn. Listen, doing that only further divides us.
What would you say about that particular part of it, Congressman?
Yeah, look, I think that there's no excuse for political violence in our country. It's antithetical to the purpose and intent of our Constitution, why this country was set up, why we've become such an incredible place. And look, we have dealt with assassination in this country. Unfortunately, every country has dealt with it. It's part of the human condition. But I do think that there's a difference here. And I think we've got to call it out where it is, right? Yes, has this happened on both sides? No question. But there does seem to be a very specific intent by the radical left to do this to the right at the very highest echelons of government. And you have to understand that the difference between a killing and an assassination is an assassination is designed to achieve a political effect. And you cannot achieve a higher and more impactful political effect than going up high on the federal level. That's now happened with Steve Scalise. It's happened with Donald Trump. And now, unfortunately, it's happened with Charlie Kirk. And the worst part about it, Connell, is that there does not seem to be remorse on the other side for this. There does not seem to be a broad respect for the fact that this shouldn't happen. There's actually celebration that's going on across the country at a level that none of us can comprehend. We're not in a good spot in this country right now. There's no question.
When you see that, again, my earlier point, my belief, what I've seen, most of that is from people that we shouldn't be talking about anyway, that nobody should that they shouldn't really have a platform to speak. They do because of social media and other things, but maybe whether they should. One final point with you that I'd make, and I'm just curious to your response. I understand the points you're making. When you talk about it at, the highest level of the federal government and things like that, I think some on the other side say, well, does that minimize what happened, say, to state lawmakers in Minnesota, which was also certainly clearly a political attack?
No, certainly not. And I think the humanity in all of us should care any time that someone is killed, and they obviously should not be, for their thoughts, their beliefs. That's not the way that our system of government works. But when it comes to the tool of political assassination, we have to understand that the higher up the ladder you go, unfortunately, the more effective and impactful it is for the future of our country. And look, I say this as somebody that's had my family home shot at as part of the political process when I was a candidate. We've got to understand that the rhetoric out there is absolutely toxic. I'm a manufacturer of firearms, and a lot of people don't like that. Look, we're trying to deal with this right now with respect to member security, folks that are in the administration. We understand that given the current level of toxicity on the other side, we have got to double down on this. This is a very dangerous situation for everybody, given the level of threats that are coming across members' desks. But look, we've all got to settle down here. And at the end of the day, we've got to be very clear-eyed, and we've got to understand that if we truly believe in the purpose and cause of freedom, and we truly believe in the purpose and cause of what Charlie Kirk dedicated his life to, which was bringing rational discussion out into the public square and offering other perspectives to come out and defend those perspectives,
right,
that to be done in a peaceful way.
What specifically would you like to see done on what you mentioned, member security, members of Congress?
Look, I would like to see members have the latitude to be able to defend themselves first and foremost. Obviously, while we're up here in D.C., our families are home alone, unfortunately. And so I think that there does need to be additional appropriations that are larger than are being currently discussed for this clean CR that we're going to vote on later this week. We've got to make sure that members are secure, because look, I'll just tell you the fragility of our country. It's not about me. This is a dangerous job. At the end of the day, I'm a former Green Beret. Like, I know what I'm getting into, but it's something different when it's your family. We're seeing the turmoil that this causes, and most importantly, we're seeing how pernicious this is for the future of our country and the future of our democracy, our faith and respect and of one another, and our hope for the future. We've got to put a stop to this. We've got to get serious about security.
Other than the political elements, as a final point that you mentioned earlier, what do you think are the root causes? I mean, are you someone who's thinking a lot about this online radicalization and things we could do about that? I ask that because there could be a congressional role there, like the repeal of Section 230, for example, more hearings on Capitol Hill. Is that something we should talk about? As a Republican, I'm assuming, but I shouldn't assume that, more, and as a gun manufacturer, wouldn't be more gun laws. So what types of things are you thinking about, other than the political elements that you mentioned earlier, in terms of fixes for this, or the way we need to go next?
I think at some point you've got to start assigning liability, and I'm not a fan of this. But we experience this in the firearms industry. Whenever there is a school shooting, the manufacturer responsible for manufacturing that weapon ultimately gets sued. And they get sued for proper marketing practices. I think we've got to step back and you take a look at this shooter who assassinated Charlie Kirk, and which professors at which universities are responsible for this individual becoming a violent threat to society based on the curriculum that they teach, or the tone that they take, the very specific statements. If we can reach a causality between some of those statements, and whether that happens in woke corporate America, whether that's happening in our woke university systems, or whether that's happening somewhere else, I think we've got to contemplate holding people accountable for inciting people to violence.
But that would that's the word, incite. It would have to be a direct incitement. Otherwise, it's protected by the First Amendment.
Yeah, that's correct. But I think that we've got to understand, we've got to bring everything back in this country to a neutral form. Right now, we are nowhere close to that. And as this pendulum swings back and forth, the whiplash is absolutely killing the country. And so we've got to ultimately set the conditions for our institutions, our universities, our high school teachers, whatever they may be, to just calm down, bring the rhetoric down. Let's focus on just middle of the road conversations that aren't inciting people to take violent action.
Congressman, thanks for the conversation. Congressman Pat Harrigan is a Republican, North Carolina.